Well, it's going down. I'm yelling timber. You better move. You better dance. Well, here I am. It's October now. Pumpkins on every corner. People decorating their coffee tables with corn husks tied together with twine. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what you need to do, Matthew? Start looking back at some of your favorite scary movies. Maybe read a scary script, then watch a scary movie. I mean, it's perfect. It's fall weather, it's cool outside, it's a little bit chilly. A little bit of hocus pocus in the air. People are starting to wear pullovers. Unless you're in the southern hemisphere. It's probably starting to get a little bit warm for you. I kind of get nostalgic this time of year. When the winds are howling outside my window and there's nothing but stark nighttime darkness in the fields beyond. Starlight and moonlight beaming down through the fog and laying like frost on the bare trees. It stirs up some feelings that some might call sentimental. Okay, picture this in your brain, because I'm going to paint a mental image. You are 12 years old. The hour of midnight has just come down like a flippin' anvil. You're at home. Parents are asleep in bed. They probably don't know you're up past your bedtime. Bam! Darkness. House is silent. Nothing but the eaves creaking and the window panes popping whenever the wind gusts. A little bit spooky already, right? So you decide, hey, I'll just turn on the TV for some background noise so I don't feel as scared. And then you see this. What? Now maybe some of you youngins wasn't as impressionable or scared as I was by such blatant nonsensicals. But let me tell you, I was. So you've got haunted houses, haunted asylums, haunted hospitals, haunted things, haunted mannequins, haunted ships, haunted cars, haunted battlefields, haunted dolls, or is it possessed? Possessed dolls? I've been told there's a difference. Dang it. Cursed. Cursed is another one. Things can be cursed. So anyway, for as long as human beings have had the ability to speak and gather around the campfire, we've exchanged stories. And the most basic story is probably a scary one. Fear is one of our most basic instincts. It's right up there with hunger. If something scary happens while you're eating, you forget all about eating and focus on what it is that's making you scared. If you're sitting yourself down to a plate of pork and beans in your kitchen, when all of a sudden a maniac zombie horde bursts through your front door, are you going to be like, hold up, let me finish my plate of pork and beans first? No! You're gonna run. Forget about the pork and beans. Now chili. My wife's chili. I could probably single-handedly fight off a zombie horde while I ate my wife's chili. Scary stories are perhaps the most basic of all stories. And scary stories are typically about the human element versus either a supernatural horror, maybe another human being, maybe a cosmic horror, maybe another human being that becomes a horror. Scary stories can also serve as a metaphorical vehicle to warn people about dangers. For example, It Follows has been touted as being against promiscuity. Get Out as a warning against toxic ethnocentrism, and, more broadly, the dangers of dating someone who is this meticulous about eating their Fruit Loops. Pour the milk. Into the bowl. Eat. There's also the one about the man who lures children into a complex industrial killing machine so that he can take pleasure in their mishaps and mutilations. What's that I hear? That's an enduring childhood story? No. No, it's not, Senora Wonka. That's a Saw prequel. Nightmares for all. You know some candy nightmares? Come on up, get your candy nightmares. Here's some more candy nightmares. Candy nightmares for you, sir. Oh, look, this bubble gum will mutate you. You want some of this? So, let's talk about Below. Not Blow. Below. This movie's actually by the same guy who wrote Pitch Black. David Toy. Hoy es today in Espanol. David Toy. I had to Google it. So Below is actually set in a submarine during World War II. Now, the prospect of war is terrifying enough in and of itself. And being on a submarine is about as isolated as you can get. Theoretically, if I were in outer space and something were to happen, I'd at least eventually fall back down. Right? Have we gotten a movie about a haunted spaceship? Yes. Yes, we have. But in the ocean, you just keep sinking into the cold depths. Just imagine what these young men were feeling on these long patrols out in the middle of nowhere. No sunlight, no fresh air. Your life literally depended on the abilities of those around you. You're banking on the fact that Phil the filter man changes out the O2 scrubbers when he's supposed to. Because if he doesn't, you suffocate to death. If Yeoman Bob tries to dry his laundry on top of the engine and a fire breaks out, guess what? You've just been promoted to charcoal briquette. If Steve, God bless you, Steve. If Steve, the sub driver, doesn't mind his radar, crashing straight to the bottom of the ocean. I mean, so much can go wrong and there's absolutely no room for error. I mean, I've seen some of the dumb things that people do, and I do not entrust my survival to 99% of the world's population. But we get all of these things in addition to the supernatural, deceit, treachery, secrecy. We also get a malediction. Malediction. Alright, vocab time, boys and girls, ladies and gents of all genders. Malediction. A curse. That's right. I don't use my phone. Paper, glue, and words right here. It's like a spell book, but for words. Maledictions is a big word. Is a big word. Means curses. Means curses. It also means a hex. I love the script for Below. I've read it 5 times. The movie didn't get too much love, and I really don't know why. I mean, Captain Pike's in it. Okay, not the Captain Pike from the original series, but still. So the movie starts out, and the submarine in question is ordered to go pick up some survivors from a sunken British medical ship. My aversion to confined spaces and being underwater would probably make the conversation go something like this as soon as a sub popped up above the water. I'd rather take my chances above the water. Thank you. No. Shut the hatch. Carry on. Have a good day. I ain't getting on no submarine. So 3 survivors were brought on board the submarine. 2 of those survivors present a problem. The first one is the German guy. In case you're a little rusty on your history, a German guy, who is also secretly a German guy, aboard a U.S. submarine during World War II? I mean, that's not a good idea. And it turns out about how you'd expect it to. Okay, life lesson time. If somebody's got a gun pointed at you and you're inches away from a knife, nobody in the world can move fast enough to grab a knife and start jabbing you. You cannot beat the bullet. You're gonna have extra holes where there ought not be any.
Hydrogen from the batteries. CO2. Ozone from the electrical shorts. That's what we're breathing right now. Like those deep sea divers who don't get enough oxygen. Ed starts playing tricks on them.
Pappy. Pappy is awesome. The script describes Pappy as an ancient mariner type. He's kind of grandfatherly. That is, if your grandfather served aboard a U.S. submarine during World War II, smoked his cigars soaked in diesel, and poured whiskey instead of milk in his cornflakes. Tough man. So this is Claire. Claire's a nurse. Claire's also a woman. And a woman on board a U.S. submarine during World War II could present some problems. It was a less advanced time back then. You've got a boatload of superstitious men in a male-centric occupation. They have no female contact for months on end. Then, bam! Claire is also the one who gets to the bottom of the truth.
Mixed with Zach Galifianakis, huh?
Oh man, yeah. Zach Galifianakis. So Galifianakis plays Weird Wally, the resident mystic and pulp novel fan. Weird Wally is called Weird Wally because he's weird. Strange. Everything starts to go downhill, or down bubble, downstream. I don't know. They're under the ocean, so downhill doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, things start to go really bad. A German ship starts to approach. Now, for those of you who don't know, whenever this happens, typically the submarine has to go quiet. You don't want the German ship hearing clinks and clanks and conversations from below them, because they're going to know that, hey, there's somebody down there. Of course, the record player has other ideas. So the record player starts blaring and gives away their position. And kersplash. There goes a depth charge. So they start going off all around the submarine, and one kind of hovers above it and goes off and makes it nosedive. And you get this really cool scene right here where everybody's kind of plastered to the ceiling for a second. Kind of freaky, but really cool. I mean, I assume that would actually happen. Okay. I just want to take a minute to read this excerpt from the script so you kind of know what's going on. Note, a submarine has two holes. The pressure hole on the inside and a sea hole on the outside. It's a place few people, even submariners, have ever seen. So, pressure hole, outside hole, dead space in between. That's where we're going. Because, come to find out, every time the submarine surfaces, they're leaving an oil slick for the German ships to track them.
We're sloughing oil and it's bad. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's somewhere between the pressure hull and the sea hull.
There's an oil leak in between the two holes. I think Wally says it best in this scene right here.
You want someone to free dive outside with you into the cold black water. Make our way below the boat, locate the flood ports, and slither in between the two holes.
If I was in that room with him, I'd be like, you know what? Weird Wally's right. We're not going out there. Whew. Goosebumps. If there's one place I don't want to be, it's a submarine. And if there's one submarine I don't want to be on, it's this submarine. And if there's one place I don't want to be on this submarine, it's the flippin' dead space between the pressure hull and the sea hull. It's kind of a nice detail, and I don't think I've seen it in any other sub movies. You know, come to think of it, I was on a submarine one time. It was on land in a museum, but still. You know, come to think of it, it was down in Mobile. Actually, you know what? I wonder. What? Okay. Guess what kind of submarine it was? Gato class submarine. Guess what kind of submarine was used in the movie Below? A Gato class submarine. So now I can actually speak from experience on a submarine matter. What? Because I was on a submarine of the same class that was used in the movie that I'm actually reviewing. That's kind of cool. A little weird. But really cool. So you get inside a submarine, and there is nothing in there that would feel pleasant to bump into if you were being thrown about in an explosion. Nothing soft, nothing squishy, nothing. Everything is hard, and it hurts when you bump into it. So I can say that they did take some liberties as to the size of the interior dimensions of these submarines, but I'm okay with that. You gotta have room for the crew and the camera to move around. So during this scene when they all get up in there and swim inside, you've got this building tension between Coors and Odell, and you're kind of like, what's the deal between these two? Why is Coors looking at Odell like that? I mean, they're just slogging through the grody water. What's grody water? Grody water. Shame on you, Coors, for plotting against Odell like that. So anyway, it doesn't turn out to go so great for Coors because he plots to kill Odell and he sees Captain Winters in a sheet of falling water and loses his footing. Now, in the script, Coors hit one of the little struts so hard that he kind of expelled his lung. And this one he just hits his head, and I'm okay with that. Phew. Did I just here? Just shut these. It's awful dark out there. So anyway, they come to the conclusion that Captain Winters is trying to steer the submarine back to the site of the sinking of the British medical ship. That's when it all clicks into place. The German U-boat that sank the British medical ship in the beginning of the film wasn't no German U-boat. It was the USS Tiger Shark, a submarine that everyone is currently on, and is also being taken over by Captain Winters' vengeful ghost. So, there was an accidental torpedoing of the British medical ship that Claire, Kingsley, and the German were on that came about because Bryce, Coors, Loomis, and Winters misidentified what they thought was a German ship. And I kind of have to ask myself if this was a common thing back then or not. And then Weird Wally starts to really descend into his weirdness. He starts gathering together all these little talismans and charms from his Cracker Jack boxes to string on a necklace to kind of protect him from whatever evil is aboard the ship. That's just something you'd expect a character named Weird Wally to do. Well, if that doesn't amp up the tension a little bit. I mean, I get it. Captain Winters is angry. But could he not at least let the innocents off first? So there's a confrontation between Odell and Loomis. Meanwhile, back towards the rear of the submarine, the chief mechanic and his helper are trying to thread in new hydraulic lines to hopefully take control of the ship because it's out of control. Explosion. Now, the explosion happens at this specific instance when the light flickers.
What are you saying, Odell? It's not a coincidence?
Hydrogen's been building in the submarine for days on end now. And for all you chemists out there, you know this isn't really how batteries work. But it's one liberty that the filmmakers took for the sake of bumping up the tension, so I guess I'm okay with that. Batteries only discharge hydrogen when they're charging, FYI. So after realizing that they're not getting any response from the back half of the submarine, and that the door is warm to the touch, they don some masks and go to investigate. So Claire finds the chief towards the rear of the submarine, clanking, but it's not quite the chief. It's Captain Winters, and a little bit of spooky ventriloquism. Was Chief possessed, or haunted, or hexed in this scene? I don't know. Then this happens to Loomis. He goes back there, sees something weird with his reflection, and for some insane reason, hangs back behind the rest of the others, in the dark, on a runaway submarine.
He's here.
Don't get curious in places that are haunted. So, as we know, the ghost of Captain Winters has taken over the controls of the submarine. That sounded sillier than it actually is. And so they decide to force the ballast tanks to blow so that they can surface. Unfortunately, the winch that they're using breaks loose and boomerangs right into Kingsley's face. Okay, so Claire manages to get topside, and Bryce goes after her. Anyway, so that's below. It ends with the submarine finally sinking and the British ship coming to pick up the survivors. And I must say, I'm glad that they didn't kill off Weird Wally, because I thought he was going to bite it. I love reading the script too because it has that same claustrophobic atmosphere. You get a little extra backstory as well. You kind of understand some of the characters' motivations. For example, Claire is claustrophobic inside the submarine with all that steel around her because she was in an iron lung as a child. And the character of Weird Wally, played by Galifianakis, is actually just as funny on paper as he is in the movie. Now, I read a complaint online on a discussion board that stated that they didn't like the movie because the people on board the submarine didn't speak like people in submarines did back in World War II. How would you know? I mean, it seemed okay to me. I don't know about the technical aspects, like the orders and the commands, but it was real enough to me. But I do like that they used Weird Wally to inject a little bit of humor into the film, because you have this moment of levity, which brings you up here, followed by these moments of terror, which brings you way down here. Now, you can use a roller coaster as an analogy for that, but I like to think of it as more of a vomit comet. You know, the plane that NASA uses to allow astronauts to experience zero-G. It goes way up in the air, and then seesaws back down. And most of the time people vomit on it, so they call it the vomit comet. In honor of our first episode of Matt's Midnight Movie Discussions, and also in honor of Below, I have made a necklace of talismans all my own. I don't think I'm going to film anymore at midnight. It's like Wal-Mart at midnight. Too much weird stuff going on. Anyway, hang it up over here. So, how many Matt Oscars would I rate Below? Not that it matters, because Matt Oscars are completely worthless, but I'm probably going to rate it at a good solid 6.5 out of 10. So, that's it. I'm hoping to do these episodes kind of semi-regularly, especially through the month of October. Bye, y'all. Let's go down. I'm yelling, you better move. You better down.